One. We're cold opening today. That's what's going on.
Well, Matt Waldman is doing cheerleader routines as we're starting the program. It catches me a little off guard. And let me tell you, the skills are there. He's got chops, people. I'm sending him to the
flexible.
Nationals very soon.
There we go.
I'm Bob Harris. He's Matt Waldman, cheerleader renowned. Also, the author of the Rookie Scouting Portfolio, which right now, again, go to mattwaldman.com. You can find a special deal ongoing. Do tell, Matt.
Yeah, you get a pre-sale discount, $19.95. Yeah, $19.95 through December 22nd, and then you can get it at the regular low price of $21.95. Basically for the rest of the year, whenever you want to get it, it'll be available for download on April 1st. Get the pre-draft and the post-draft with it. I know some of you with Dynasty rankings and projections. I haven't come out with one for the end of November. I'm probably going to wait till the end of December to do one, and I'll probably give you all a little extra added something just as a thank you for me being a little bit late this time around on this. But the projections part of it pretty much is over, so I want to do something a little bit more with the rankings. I'll add something with some free agency stuff for those people. If you want to get the Dynasty rankings projections, that's available for $24.95. No discount there. I'm just giving you the answers to the test. And a lot of that's informed by what I do with the RSP pre-draft, post-draft. So you can go to mattwaldman.com and get that. And if you're just curious about some of the stuff, JJ Zachariason likes to make a little joke about how he's never wrong. He's never wrong. He's just early. Well, I think the RSP, we can make some trash talking jokes about that as well with Rico Dowdle this year and Michael Wilson this year. And I just put out a pre-draft scouting report on Michael Wilson and why I compared him to guys like Michael Thomas, Michael Crabtree, and Juju Smith-Schuster as guys who can be like you're somewhere between a wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 for your team if things are structured right in terms of what you're looking for from a receiver. And he certainly has put on a show.
All right, there you have it. So go to mattwaldman.com. I'm Bob Harris. I am neither author of the Rookie Scouting Portfolio nor a cheerleader of some renown, but I do enthusiastically support Matt Waldman. I'm a super fan and a cheerleader. Yeah,
and a Hall of Famer.
And this is the Feel It or Fuck It podcast, and we're going to feel things. What?
A Hall of Famer.
Are you calling me old?
Hall of Famer.
We're going to go through some stuff. We got all kinds of stuff going on this week. Week 14, another one that's going to leave a mark. Certainly not some great news and some injury fronts and some wild outcomes once again. The aforementioned Michael Wilson delivering another wide receiver 1 overall performance. We'll talk about him. Let's first talk about George Pickens. Dallas Cowboys. George Pickens was doing George Pickens-y things Thursday night after CeeDee Lamb was injured, and by that I mean seemed distinctly disinterested in the outcome of the game. He was playing in. Ryan Flournoy, meanwhile, was rollicking, destroying the opposition with great plays. Will Flournoy will make George Pickens expendable in Dallas? Feel it or fuck it?
I'm going to say fuck it. I actually think when I watched George Pickens play, he made some tough catches that I just don't think Flournoy is capable of. And I think that, the coverage just really flowed to Pickens once Lamb was out of the game. And Flournoy, most of the plays that Flournoy made were like underneath zone routes that were kind of just like plays that I think even Kevontae Turpin could have made, or if Jalen Tolbert were in the game, he probably could have made some of those himself. The one notable play that Flournoy made that was worthwhile and maybe makes you go, let's just keep an eye on this kid a little longer because maybe he can show us a little bit more, was the double move for the 47-yard touchdown. That was a thing of beauty, what he did. I mean, it was one of the better double moves I've seen where you actually put your hands on the defender, but you don't pull him or push him anywhere. He really sold the in-breaking route where he was going to kind of pretend that he was going to cross over underneath the defender on an in-breaking route and then work back down the field. And, I mean, totally fake that guy out. It was a great move. But what I don't see from Flournoy is great explosion in and out of routes with his game. He's just not as explosive as like a Lamb or a Pickens or even a Kevontae Turpin. But he's a big dude, and there's ways that you can use him to win, and the Cowboys certainly did that last week.
Put me down as a fucking as well. This is a singular moment. This is a problem in our world, and our leaders count on this, by the way. We can't remember anything beyond yesterday sometimes. We see what happened, and if we get caught up in this moment, and it was, like, and it did feed into the narrative kind of on Pickens, right? Like, just that he's a little bit of a flaky guy. I don't think Dallas cares about that. I don't think they've cared about it all along. They've gotten great production out of him as recently as a week or two ago. So I think he'll be perfectly fine. And I think Flournoy can add to that whole situation. But it does sound to me like the Cowboys are going to figure out a way to pay George Pickens. And that may be the hardest part of all this, the biggest challenge for them. He may have done enough to convince another team to pay him $30 million a year that the Cowboys probably will have a hard time coming up with, right? So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But I'm with you. Fuck that. George Pickens' single game of being George Pickens-esque is not like a huge shock. And you're right. He did draw some heavy coverage. Jahmyr Gibbs is not the red zone back in Detroit, and David Montgomery's heydays are over. Feel it or fuck it.
See, I kind of really screwed up how we phrased this thing. But, the way I would put
you meant Jahmyr Gibbs is the red zone back.
Yeah, I probably did. Yeah. And it looks like it after watching that game. He had 3 touchdowns. 2 of them were in the low red zone. One was in the low red zone, and one was outside the 10. And Montgomery had a 35-yard touchdown. Now, looking at this, we got to understand that the Cowboys secondary, they got blocked up really well by the Lions receivers. They do a very good job of blocking downfield, and that can open up big plays or open up plays to the secondary. So, The thing for me is that I would say I'm starting to feel it. I love David Montgomery's game, and I still think he's a quality back, but I think that the Lions are starting to have been feeling this year all along that Gibbs is really their feature guy, and they want to they're going to ride him kind of like they would ride a Christian McCaffrey in San Francisco during his heyday, or with the Carolina Panthers during his heyday, and maybe that's what's going to happen here. But I think that Montgomery stays a change of pace back at the very least, and still going to have good days. But the bigger thing here is how they're using a variety of players in the red zone. Jameson Williams was getting touches in the red zone. I think they want to diversify a little bit more, mainly because the offensive line isn't healthy right now, and it hasn't been playing great, the interior offensive line, compared to recent years. And I think for them, they feel like if we can stretch the field horizontally, we can keep Gibbs in the backfield, it creates a little bit more choices that the opposing defenders have to cover, and that gives us a better chance than just sticking Montgomery out there and knowing that it's either a screen pass, a swing pass to the flat, or a run up the middle. And I think that just limits the offense a little bit more. So for at least this year, I'm going to say yes, Gibbs is the main guy here.
Yeah, I want to highlight the differences. Last year they played 14 games together. Gibbs was running back 5 in those 14 games. David Montgomery was running back 9. This year they played through 14 weeks here. Gibbs is running back 3, and Montgomery's running back 23. Right, still a playable asset, but we've seen the gap widen. I think I'm with you. Fantasy output aside, this seems like Jahmyr Gibbs. Everyone's realizing when you have a special player, it's wise to use him. But it's nice to have a guy like Montgomery there to spell him and to get some things done in certain situations where the play designs call for him. So I'm with you though. Jahmyr Gibbs is the every down back to me at this point. And Montgomery's a very productive second piece, one that I'm still playing in many lineups, but I have to be prepared for not the best outcomes every single week. Williams, you mentioned Jameson Williams. He could be a primary wide receiver in the NFL. Feel it or fuck it.
Totally feeling that. I mean, just based on the routes that I've seen from him, he's so good at using his speed as a just area to work off of. I mean, he's someone that can drive defenders back in different directions, and then he can just pull that string and execute really hard breaks and get back to the ball. And he's smart about working back to the football. As a man-to-man primary route runner on timing routes, intermediate ranges of the field, he's good at this. And then you have that after-catch quality. You have the deep threat quality. Like if I had to choose between Brian Thomas and Jameson Williams, in hindsight, I'd take Jameson Williams, probably, heading into this year. This is where I wish I had Jameson Williams higher than a lot of people, than the consensus, I think. But I still had Brian Thomas higher overall between the two. I would have liked to have, if in hindsight, it's easily Williams.
I will say this: Jameson Williams is the primary receiver right now. He is the wide receiver one. For our purposes, like the numbers, like let's go back to weeks 9 through 14. I believe that's about the time that the shift started happening. Jameson Williams, the wide receiver 5 over that span with 17.4 fantasy points. Amon-Ra St. Brown doing a fine job. Played also 6 games over that span, 14.5 points per game, wide receiver 11. So, again, we have 2 wide receiver 1 level plays in this offense. We're perfectly fine with that. And I don't know that that's a permanent, persistent thing. But Jameson Williams has flourished, especially since Dan Campbell came in. And we heard one of the reasons why he took over as play caller was there was some thought that maybe Jameson Williams wasn't being used the way the Lions wanted to. He certainly wasn't being used the way fantasy managers wanted him to. So I'm feeling this all day long. Fuck that old way. Michael Wilson, we mentioned him. Read that scouting report. Lofty comparisons to interesting players. He should be a wide receiver 1 in the NFL beyond the opportunities when there is no Marvin Harrison.
I'm feeling that he is good enough for that type of opportunity. So I would say yes. Does it mean that he should be necessarily no matter what? I'd say no. Depending on where he lands, he'd be a fine wide receiver too. But he just needs to be on an offense where he's getting consistent targets, and it's not because Marvin Harrison, their prized number one pick, wasn't available. I mean, we gotta sometimes, as some former players have mentioned in the past, that what they've learned is that the best players don't necessarily play. It's the highest paid players who get the opportunities. And we're seeing that that's probably the case in this situation. The
highest paid includes draft capital as well.
Yes.
Right? So yeah.
Yeah. So, but when you look at Wilson, I think that what stands out about him that's different than Marvin Harrison Jr. is that, one, there's more familiarity with playing different roles at the wide receiver position, playing outside and inside, a little bit wider route choices in terms of experience running them and being on the same page with the quarterback in terms of coverage with zone, where Harrison might develop into that, but hasn't really either had the chance or has shown the ability to just yet. But I would say the thing about Wilson that's so good is that you can play bully ball with him. And what I mean by that is that you can do what you did with Michael Thomas, Michael Crabtree, or Juju Smith-Schuster, which is in his heyday, which is you can run a timing route, and he doesn't have to be open in the classical sense of like 2-3 steps on a defender. He can have inches on a defender, but because the defender's leverage is not in an ideal spot at the decision point of the throw, that's going to be open because Wilson knows how to use his size, and he has the hands and positioning to earn that, and it just becomes commonplace, kind of like Brandon Marshall in his heyday. Brandon Marshall in his heyday was a guy that you or even Michael Thomas, as I talked about, guys that you can just say it doesn't look open, but it's wide open because of what this guy can do, and a competent quarterback is going to trust him at the decision point to throw that ball. And we saw that multiple times yesterday with Wilson. And he also has that quick first step. So he's not a Jameson Williams speed burner. But what he has great short area quickness, and he gets that first step on you, and he's great in the short routes where you can get yardage after the catch, and he's physical after the catch. He breaks tackles, and if he had a couple plays where he didn't keep his feet, but he was able to work through contact and extend, and you could see that if he had broken maybe one more tackle on a couple of routes, he might have had like some chunk gains there, and he's certainly done that in the past. So I feel like that he's gonna, if he has a decent season next year, he's gonna be a high-priced free agent in 2027. If he doesn't get traded this year, if they don't try to trade him and get something for him while they know they only have 1 year left on their deal. And that might be appealing for some teams. I bet there's some teams that are calling for Michael Wilson right now, especially if this team is going to go back to we're invested. We have sunk costs in Marvin Harrison. We've got Trey McBride. We can get some more draft capital out of Wilson, and that might be worth more than what we'd have to pay him. Or the way some people think, the egg on our face for not looking good for choosing this. If we choose this guy over Marvin Harrison, and we make Harrison look like a bust when he's not really.
I believe you just called Jacoby Brissett competent because he is getting the ball to this guy. The 3 games without Marvin Harrison, 49 targets for Michael Wilson in 3 games without Marvin Harrison. But let that sink in, people. 49 targets. I mean, so that's playing with Trey McBride, who got a shit ton of targets as well. It's a narrow funnel there. And like this last week, there was no Greg Dortch either. So, one less guy to chip into the totals. But that's a monstrous focus on a couple of players.
4-week stretch since 2021. CeeDee Lamb had a 4-week stretch of 617 yards in 2023. Jamar Chase had 602 yards in 2024. Tyreek Hill, 580. Justin Jefferson, 577. A.J. Brown, 570. Michael Wilson comes in after that at 481 yards. Yep. And when Wilson has the number 1 spot, 118, 142, 185 in those 3 weeks. And, yeah, if Marvin Harrison Jr. was sidelined that one other week, we might have seen him,
when
pass
Rico
one of those
Dowdle
4
put
guys.
Up these numbers, we all bowed down and committed to him. I'll say this. It was 7 targets in week 13 with Marvin Harrison, the same number of targets as Harrison. Harrison left the game early, so I don't know how that would have come out. Trey McBride got 9 in that game. I think the secret sauce here, though, is obviously the number of balls that Jacoby Brissett is throwing. That has been a big factor in all the success as well. But I agree, and like for our purposes, I ranked him as a wide receiver 1 this week, knowing Marvin Harrison was out, or for this last week. I wish I would have ranked him higher. I think I had him at 9 or 10. I wish I would have pushed him higher because I kept having this argument on the radio, over the course of the week, and people calling, asking questions. I mean, every answer was Michael Wilson for me because, why wouldn't it be? But I think people are still a little bit skeptical and think it's still a little bit of a mirage, and I think that's realistic as well. And we'll see what happens if Marvin Harrison comes back. This just in. Bob Harris does not think Marvin Harrison will be coming back. Kyler Murray already isn't coming back. Trey Benson, Jonathan Gannon said yesterday his window closes Wednesday. He said, I don't know that he'll be back, which is to me is code for no, he's not coming back either because we're 3-10.
So then
there's not a damn thing going on here. They've already moved on from Kyler Murray.
Is Jonathan Gannon coming back next year?
Probably not. Yeah. I mean, at this point, I think that's a fair question. And I think Monty Austin-Ford will get a chance to hire a coach, get a quarterback, and see what he can do. And maybe Gannon stick around. But I think all of them are likely to be gone. So there you have that. Sorry, Arizona fans. Keaton Mitchell, Matt, should be getting more time at the expense of Derrick Henry. Feel it or fuck it.
Fuck that. Maybe he should be getting more time compared to the other backs in the rotation, and he has.
Get out of there, Rashawn Ali. Get out of
there. but I think that we have to understand that availability is a talent in the NFL. And so far, he hasn't proven availability. He had that big run, and then he promptly left the game.
He got hurt, and we'll have to figure out. It sounds like there may be more to this. We'll learn more about that later today, this being Monday. So
yeah, but, the speed's great, and people get excited about big plays. But Derrick Henry's still authoring big plays. It's just the fact that he's got a bigger target on his back than Keaton Mitchell. There are certain plays that when you know what the Ravens are trying to do with Derrick Henry in the backfield. With Keaton Mitchell, it just kind of makes things a little bit trickier in certain situations, but that'll become predictable too. So would you rather have Derrick Henry giving you 4 to 7 yards on a more regular basis when everyone knows it's coming, or would you rather have Keaton Mitchell give you that occasional Kyler Murray play and then, did I just say that? Yeah. A Kyler Murray play and then wind up not giving you shit for, a span of a dozen or so touches, and you're backed up and your game scripts are bad and you're losing and you're not even close. They're losing close right now in Baltimore because Lamar's hurt. There's a number of injuries on, offensively and defensively on this team. And that's the way it is. But if without Derrick Henry, this team would be losing much bigger.
Yeah, I do like Keaton Mitchell as a nice change of pace, but just that, I'm a great proponent of the man Derrick Henry, and we'll see. And why? Ask Malik Harrison. Why? I like Derrick Henry as he crumbled, just bouncing off his arm, bounced off his shoulder. Amazing just watching Derrick Henry. He's a monster. But I do think, when you see Keaton Mitchell in there, he's super effective because he is that change of pace and that shift in speed and the things that the elusiveness that he does well lead to big plays. So I love having him as a fantasy asset on those weeks when I have dire emergencies, but that's the only thing he's good for at this point. And you're right. Availability is the best ability. He's not got that one so far. Alec Pierce, he should stay in Indy and become the primary wide receiver. Feel it or fuck it.
I feel it, but I just don't know who's going to be throwing him the ball. Daniel Jones with the likely a torn Achilles. Will he be back next year? Will they want him back next year? Does Anthony Richardson get his shot again? Does he get a true shot? Can he stay healthy and be available? Are they going to draft somebody else? Are they going to? Is there a free agent they do want to sign? I mean, I don't think there's really a great free agent choice in the marketplace right now. So, I mean, unless they think Aaron Rodgers is it, that might be it.
I don't even think Aaron Rodgers thinks that's it.
I don't think he does either. So that's the thing. And so, I mean, it's just one of those situations where it's either Anthony Richardson or they're drafting another guy. So I would love to see Alec Pierce in New England. I think Alec Pierce in New England would be a fantastic fit. They could probably get him at a slight discount compared to some of the other names on the market that have had bigger production resumes overall. And I think he'd be a great fit with what Drake May likes to do downfield, but also over the middle. So we'll see. It's going to be the most compelling option we have here. And Bob, how does it feel when you were young Bob Harris and watching the Muppets, and you saw those two old men in the in the theater,
exactly
grumbling like this? Did you think you were going to grow up to be this with me? I didn't think I was.
Pretty sure I would.
Okay.
By the way, I've just as you were speaking, I was getting some information on Anthony Richardson into my telephonic device. Remarkable, this technology these kids have these days. As I act out my Muppet routine. The report is Colts don't know when or if Anthony Richardson will be cleared to return this year from the fractured orbital bone, for those wondering. So Riley Leonard fans rejoice. Alec Pierce fans, I don't know what this means for you. I'm with you. Most of my Alec Pierce allegiance has come from listening to you over the course of the season on this very podcast, as you fucked him and rarely ever fucked him, and sometimes fucked Michael Pittman. So as I've watched along, it's become pretty glaringly apparent, and the numbers are bearing it out, that he has become a much more well-rounded receiver. I talked to James Boyd of The Athletic fairly regularly on the radio program, had him on Saturday. He echoed all of this and said clearly the best receiver watching on a daily basis on the field every day is Alec Pierce. So I would kind of like to see him stick around if they had a quarterback, but I like receivers who have quarterbacks. So I'm kind of with you.
Never wrong, just early. That would be another one to be in that trash talking ad right there.
Never.
I like
so
that, JJ.
I do it different. I'm not never wrong. It's just never. It's not over yet. I go with it. It's not over yet.
It's not over yet. You sound like an evil villain who's like, after he got his ass kicked, where he's looking at me, says, "It's not over yet.
This chapter's closed. Next one to come." I'm all about that with Anthony Richardson. This is not over yet. I am not wrong yet. I think that's going to be what we put on my Muppet gravestone. He's not wrong yet. Anthony Richardson is going to get another shot to start in 2026. Feel it or fuck it.
I'm going to say feel it just because I'm rooting for the kid. But if I'm whispering everybody, I'd say fuck it because I think the Colts are over him. Even though I think he deserves another shot.
But I think, this is a quarterback reclamation project league, right?
Yeah.
Guys come around. I don't know. We'll see if Trey Lance ever gets another real opportunity. But we've seen guys who we thought had, probably played their last meaningful snap, now playing meaningful snaps every single week. I'm looking at you, Sam Darnold. You could just like
people People thought Kirk Cousins was a complete idiot with his butt fumbles and all the crazy things he did in the red zone with the Commanders way back in the day.
Mayfield.
Yeah.
So it happens all the time. So I think he is a unique athlete, physically imposing for the position, all kinds of interesting things. We see what a physically imposing guy who is developed as a passer can do in the form of Josh Allen. He can stand up and take over a football game. I think teams, whether they think Anthony Richardson is that or not right now, they could probably see that just in the physical attributes, right?
I think he will absolutely be for a team. I just don't think it's going to be with the Colts. I think the Colts are going to send him back.
I think they'll have to move on. Yeah. Okay, victory lap time. Harold Fannin got to show against the Titans what he could truly become in the NFL. Feel it or fuck it, Matt. Go.
Mainly it's because he got enough room to run a route that looked like a victory lap. He got to actually run routes that broke vertically against the Titans. A lot of his routes, if they break vertically, they're little leak routes 5 yards past the line of scrimmage. He actually ran more of like a wheel route against cover one against the safety and beat him downfield. Then you had the vertical breaking route in the end zone, in the low red zone, where he was able to go up and get it. He had a couple of routes where they actually featured him more downfield, and I think that Cleveland hasn't done that with him. They've been cautious about using him more as a leak receiver, a play action, little flat dump off, those types of things. And I think that as the season has gone on, they've loosened the throttle a little bit. They did it significantly more this week than I saw in other weeks. I had a reader ask me, just honest question, was it more that Shedeur Sanders saw him compared to other players? And I would say not with Flacco. Versus Flacco, that wasn't an issue. With Dylan Gabriel, it's possibly an issue, but from what I saw, even with Gabriel, most of the routes to Fannin were short dump offs crossing the field as opposed to working the vertical north-south. So Fannin has easily shown why the pre-combine rosy view a lot of people had on him was the correct take, and not the post-combine. They didn't make him up well enough for the centerfold for us to like him so much.
I think that the secret sauce here is he's not a tight end, or he's not being used like a tight end. And Kevin Stefanski's using him in the way that he seems to be designed to be used, right?
Last week
and a lot of weeks. I just think you see him getting a lot of action. The touchdown catch he made was fantastic, by the way, and hats off to Shedeur Sanders for delivering that football. Yeah. I've been like, I don't want to say impressed with Shedeur Sanders, but I'm kind of enjoying watching someone get something done in this offense. It's been a revelation. By the way, it was nice seeing something getting done by the Tennessee Titans, even though nobody was using it. I don't know how you're playing any of those guys right now. And now we're all going to be tempted to. Thanks, Tony Pollard, for that game. And I don't know how we're going to handle that. Conversely, to the Harold Fannin discussion, Tyler Warren is overrated. Feel it or fuck it.
He's slightly overrated. The fans...
I feel like we're just feeding the Colts fans.
We are. The Colts fans need to calm the fuck down a little bit. He is a very good tight end, a very good rookie. But I do think that my point stands still, which is that there are probably 4 to 5 tight ends in this rookie class alone, who could have delivered the production that Warren has delivered. And Warren could have probably done well in other offenses too, but I think that he got the best of both worlds early in the season. And now teams are clamping down a little bit more on taking away some of the easy stuff. And so his production's been a little bit more limited. Daniel Jones playing hurt has been a part of that too. But I think that, I still would say that to say that he is a Brock Bowers like George Kittle like tight end, I think he's more of a Tucker Kraft tight end, which is good, just not great, but can give you great numbers if you set it up well.
Look, people, I like Matt Waldman. I consider him one of my closest friends. I can't explain this any more than you can. This bizarre hatred of Tyler Warren is off the charts.
I'm just having fun playing. I'm just having fun playing heel because the Colts fans lost their shit when I said something reasonable. You know.
Well, here. Now you're gonna do one. Now you're just taunting me with this one. Jayden Daniels is a 1-year wonder. Feel it or fuck it.
Fuck that. Oh, fuck that. I'm not going there. I just figured I'd give an example of a reasonable take that people are going to hate, and then giving you the thought I'm going to go over the cliff. But no, I mean, seriously, Jayden Daniels has played hurt. He played hurt. He re-injured the elbow again this year. We didn't have enough time with him on the field to truly see whether defenses have truly caught up with him or not, and whether or not he could overcome some of the schematic things that they did a little bit differently, some of the injuries that he dealt with to his teammates. Just overall, it was just not an easy year, and a lot of it wasn't on him. And where it was on him, there wasn't enough time to see whether he could work through it. So I would say this year's a mulligan year for Jayden Daniels, and you lean more on what he did the year before.
And if this was a mulligan year, it was a fantastic shot that we're trying to take over here, albeit limited, right? But limited in multiple ways. Didn't have all his receivers there, Terry McLaurin for portions. He played 6 full games this season.
Right.
He's quarterback 9 in those 6 games. Scored 18 points a game. So yeah, he's. I think he'll be perfectly fine. I'm hoping they just sit him out the rest of the season. I mean, you saw all the outrage on the X device that why is he even playing? Well, I don't know. I think because he's a football player, probably.
Competitor,
But I mean, like he wanted to play, just like Joe Burrow wanted to play. And I think, the outcomes are however outrageous we are.
Yeah, exactly.
Daniel Jones wanted to play, right? And yeah. So I'm looking forward to seeing him with all the circumstances aligned and see what he can do it again. And maybe that will be next year. And maybe we'll get a bargain for him like we did as a rookie in our fantasy drafts. That's all that matters. Am I getting something cheaper than I want to pay for it?
Listen to
Luther Burden III will be worth the wait in 2026. Feel it or fuck it. I think I know the answer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling it as long as he doesn't get to keep his hands on Nixon's throat for very long, which I think probably endeared him to both Bob Harris and myself just a slight little bit.
And probably Ben Johnson, let's be honest.
Yeah, But listen, I mean, overall last week, you could see that he had a nice timing route late in the game where he got open. He did a great job on that timing route, breaking back to Caleb Williams, and the throw wasn't great. He had to make up for that a little bit and turn behind his break path to catch that ball. It wasn't a big week for him, and I had people ask me on the X device whether or not they should start him, and I said you probably want to prioritize Colston, Loveland, Kmet, and Moore or Zacchaeus over Burden, even though Odunze is going to be gone, just because Ben Johnson's not going to change from his program. And his program is I'm feeding Burden select looks, and Burden even ran a route that was not a good zone route. Like basically he didn't continue his route. He thought he should have settled it, but the coverage dictated continuing, and Caleb threw it where he thought Burden was going to be. So Burden's still learning, and this is an offense that Odunze even said it's going to take a year plus for everybody to learn it. And if you're a rookie entering the league, you're going to make mistakes like that. So Burden was mostly up, had a little bit of a down in that game. But yes, I would say I'm totally feeling him next year being a breakout star.
A percentage that you believe, let's say 50-50, higher or lower, that he's the best receiver on the Bears next year?
I'm going to say 66, 67, 2/3, 2 out of 3 chance. Yeah, I feel pretty high. I feel pretty confident about that.
All right. That's what I wanted to know. Blake Corum is a starting caliber NFL running back.
I feel like we need. I know we repeat ourselves on the show a lot with certain things, but I feel like that if we can get a guy mentioned 2 or 3 times, it'll get in y'all's thick skulls. That he, that a player is good, and I say that playfully. More that if you listen to 1 out of every 3 shows, you might hear it, and that's really more where I look at it. But Corum is I think Corum is a starting caliber running back in the NFL. I mean, I know that he broke a big run in a part of the game that was meaningless, but if you subtract that run, he still had a huge day nonetheless, and he's getting play as, splitting time with Kyron Williams. I think he's a more dynamic back than Kyron Williams is. Kyron Williams is quick like Blake Corum is, and he's a decisive back, but Corum's a little bit more creative, a little bit in terms of knowing how to use his agility in the ways that Williams is agile but not quite as creative. And I think that Corum's just a little, from what I watched with those guys in college, Corum was just a little bit of a smarter player overall. Now that he's gotten acclimated to the league, I think it's starting to show.
Yeah, I thought he looked fantastic. Kyron Williams also looked fantastic. I think the thing that I've learned in my 3,742 years of covering the NFL from a fantasy perspective is that there's a lot of running backs who aren't starting running backs who could be starting running backs.
Yes.
I think, opportunity, it's the position where opportunity matters, and the skills and abilities that are required for the position. It seems like there's an abundance of that available every year to NFL teams, a surplus of that. And there's a lot of guys that we think are going to be something, never get a chance to do something. May not be because they can't, may just be because they didn't. They're not wrong yet.
That may be my favorite. That may be my favorite response I've ever heard you did, using your experience to shit all over a take to say everybody calm the fuck down about that, because there's a lot of guys like this playing running back. But it's true. It was a good. I liked it. A lot.
Running back is like the bus. There's another one leaving the stop every 20 minutes. You can catch another one, people. It'll happen for you.
Am I picking you up at Magic City, outside Magic City in Atlanta then at some point for Thanksgiving? So. Okay. There we
Bryce
go.
Lance is Trey Lance's brother. He has some Christian Watson to his game.
Yes, in the same way that Bob did a great job of explaining how Corum is a running back one, but there's a lot of guys waiting for the bus. So I would say that there is a lot of Christian Watson. They both played at North Dakota State. They're both tall, skinny dudes who can go up and win the ball. They have some yak skills and real deep speed. I think the difference right now is that Christian Watson fought the ball in different ways than Bryce Lance is fighting the ball. But Bryce Lance still has some things to clean up with his hands. His routes can be a little bit better. I think he can add a little bit more weight. He's a guy that I think in 3-4 years we might be looking at if he can stay healthy and go, he's starting to come on, and he's becoming a, maybe like an Alec Pierce like riser, in that regard, or maybe a Jawan Jennings like riser, but with a different elements to his game in terms of speed. He's not a guy you're taking right now and going, I expect him to play in the next year or two and be really good.
Yeah, I think so. Which Lance will we be counting? Are we more likely to be counting on as fantasy investors in 3 years?
Trey, I'm still saying Trey. I still believe in Trey Lance.
Reclamation quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that, like you talked about so well about reclamation projects and who've been reclamation projects, and I just think what happened is that he's 20 years old when they drafted him. He didn't have a lot of experience. That showed up, even though he had a West Coast offense. And he was in the middle of basically a conflict between the GM and the coaching staff and Emperor Palpatine in the press box, in the hidden press box, entertaining Mike Silver. And so we saw what happened there. Brock Purdy played out, and Lance, I think, lost a lot of confidence, but also which young players are apt to do. And he ended up at the clown show that was the Cowboys at that point of time. It's not looking as much like a clown show as it was before. But if you ask me Joe Milton or Trey Lance, I'd still take Trey Lance over Joe Milton even. But I think that Lance eventually is going to find his footing somewhere and is going to develop into a solid starter as long as he doesn't give up. And I don't think he's given up.
I take issue with the Emperor Palpatine version of Mike Shanahan. I always thought he was Skeletor.
He is Skeletor. You're right. It's just that he maybe I haven't seen enough of the He-Man cartoons to remember. There, but Emperor Palpatine seemed a little smoother. He always seems to try to Mike always seemed to try to talk to the media like that he was manipulating them, so I felt like that was more Emperor Palpatine-esque.
Josh Cameron of Baylor reminds us of Dontavian Wicks. Feel it or fuck it.
I'm feeling that to an extent, in the way that Dontavian Wicks is really good after the catch. He can win some targets in the air. He's a good route runner when breaking inside. Give him those inside breaking routes, and he's tough to beat. And Cameron does a lot of that really well. He's built like a running back. He's like, 6'1", 224. At least that's his listing, somewhere in that range, plus or minus an inch, plus or minus 5 pounds probably. But he can go up and get it, and he's really good after the catch. I mean, breaks a lot of tackles, can make people miss, can do it oftentimes in the same run. He's got to hold on to the ball, though. Like, he's got to cinch that ball. The elbow's got to be tight to the side. He carries that ball like it's like a stick of dynamite, and he's about to throw it into the water. Like, that's basically what's the problem with him. And I don't think, and he has more release moves than just about any top prospect at wide receiver that I have watched in the past 10 years. Like, the footwork, the hand usage, he has a big vocabulary of ways to release from the line of scrimmage, and he can't get separation using any of them. So I think that means that if he can develop some nuance, he could become really good very fast. But it's a boom bust kind of play from his standpoint, because I could see an outcome with him where he becomes a really good primary receiver in the NFL. And I can see an outcome where he's kind of just a perennial, long-term contributor who occasionally has a big week based on how he's used. So it's a huge variance for him.
Yeah, I thought you meant just like the standard Green Bay receiver. He would be a great receiver who once every 7 games delivers fantasy production.
There you go.
I'm the most appreciative of that. Denzel Boston. Does he remind you also of a Packers wide receiver, but not in that way, but a different way?
Yeah, he does, actually. He reminds me a little bit of Antonio Freeman way back in the day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, kind of a guy who uses his size to catch the ball. He can win contested catches. You get him breaking across the middle, and he's a physical player who can make a couple people miss and get you yardage. I think he's one of those guys that the better the quarterback, I mean, this sounds dumb because, of course, the better the quarterback, the better the player's going to be, but the receiver's going to be. But I think he needs a top quarterback to have a level of success that is going to be fantasy worthy. I know that some feel like he's maybe the top receiver in this class, or he's close to that. I'm not sure I'm there with him yet. Maybe I'm going to have to watch a little bit more, but from what I saw, he's a decent route runner, not a great one. And his pass catching is very strong, but I didn't think he was overly dynamic with the ball in his hand.
All right, fair enough. Antonio Freeman, remember him well from my 3,730th year covering this sport.
I'm going to go back and see if you got the numbers right on that one. I will be really impressed if you did.
Totally. There's no way. There's no way I got that right. All right, that's it for this week's episode of Feel It or Fuck It. Again, go to mattwaldman.com. The early bird special still ongoing for the rookie scouting portfolio. I cannot tell you, if you have not seen this enough, how much you need to see this. Until you see it, you will not believe what you're getting. Nobody does. Everybody's pleasantly surprised. I'm pleasantly surprised every year, and I've been getting it for 20. So go out and grab that. Find our work at Football Guys. Listen to me on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio every fucking day.
The
Good
Hall
Lord,
of Famer.
You can't catch a break.
Yeah,
I'm Bob Harris. He's Matt Waldman. Over and out. Love you. Bye.
Love you. You're stuck with us. That's what's going on.